Bullying in Early Adolescence, the Role of the Peer Group by Dorothy L. Esplage, 2002. So did you see some kind of similarities between this article and Lord of the Flies?
Yeah.
Major similarities, right? Because this article is mainly focused on the fact that whenever you have a bullying situation, it's not just between a bully and a victim, right? What else or who else is involved?
Witnesses.
Bystanders, witnesses. And most of the time, those are people around the same age as the bully themselves. And what do we call those people?
Bullies. Peers.
Peers, your peer group, okay?
Yeah.
So your peer group are the people that are sitting in this room right here. And before we go much further, I need to clarify the word adolescence. Do you know what that word is?
Yes.
Okay.
Young adults.
Young adults. Now, if I say early adolescence, what age do you think that is?
8 to 16.
6.
I say like 8 to 10, 8 to 12, maybe 10 to 12, somewhere in that range is going to be different for each kid, but that's early adolescence. When we talk about Lord of the Flies, the biggins, how old are the biggins?
Early adolescence.
10, 12.
10 and 12, early adolescence. So they are that age that we're talking about in this article. And while you were reading, were you picking up on that a little bit? Like, oh, that sounds like Jack, or that sounds like what they do to Piggy, or maybe even a little bit of Ralph in there. Okay? All right. As I read, make sure you guys are taking notes. What did you just say, Patrick?
Humanizing.
I heard it. Yes, they dehumanize them. That's what bullying is. I know. That like makes me, whew. You guys are listening.
No, we're not.
You would have never used the word dehumanize before my class.
I still don't use it.
Okay, Patrick does. He's better than you. This informational text explores various research studies about adolescents bullying their peers with a focus on how peer groups play a role. As you read, take notes on the evidence each of the scientific studies provides about how bullying occurs. So, right there, it's scientific evidence, okay? So is this a reliable source?
Yes.
100%, okay? And in fact, there's an entire page that I did not copy for you of informational articles. Like all of these studies came from scientific studies, and they are mentioned in this, but I didn't copy this page. That's a lot of different articles that they've looked at, okay? A recent study in the Journal of the American Medical Association demonstrated the seriousness of bullying in American schools. In a nationally representative sample of over 15,686 students in the United States, grades 6 through 10, 29.9% self-reported frequent involvement in bullying at school, with 13% participating as a bully, 10.9% as a victim, and 6% as both. That's almost 19% of kids admitting, yes, I've been a bully. Okay? Aggression and violence during childhood and adolescence have been the focus of much research over the past several decades. Now, this one is from 1979. Does human behavior change that much that that's not applicable any longer? No. So whatever is written in 1979 about human behavior probably still applies today, right? Just like with the articles that we read for Of Mice and Men, we read like the Nicomean ethics from like 200 BC. Still applicable whenever you're talking about human behavior, okay? These researchers have found that serious forms of aggression remain relatively stable from childhood through adulthood. However, Lober and Hay argue that mild forms of aggression may not begin for some children until early or late adolescence, okay? So early or late adolescence is whenever it starts to begin. Who's that? The big uns or the little uns? The big uns, okay? The big ones are starting to show aggression. Are the little ones showing any aggression? So if they have aggression showed towards them, they might be a little bit confused and not understand why this is happening. In addition, they don't have anyone to protect them from that aggression. Despite Lober and Hay's findings, very little research has been conducted on mild forms of aggression, such as bullying during the middle years. One notable gap in the evolving literature on bullying and victimization during early adolescence is the role that peers play in promoting bullying and victimization by either reinforcing the aggressor, failing to intervene to stop the victimization, or affiliating with students who bully. This digest looks at the limited research available on the role of the peer group in bullying to learn more about how bullying and victimization might emerge or continue during early adolescence. So the article is going to examine one big idea, and that idea is how do peers contribute to bullying? That's what the whole article is going to be about. Definitions of bullying. So I'm not going to read this section, okay, because it's not necessarily necessary. But essentially, we all understand the idea and what bullying is, right? It's a repeated behavior. It's whenever you have a social hierarchy of superiority and inferiority. Which one would you rather be, superior or inferior? Superior, okay? And whenever you start looking at power plays, think about the bully. Does the bully pick on someone inferior to them or superior to them? Really think about it.
No, inferior because of the way their ego can be boosted easy.
Bullies will pick on people they believe to be inferior to them. Okay, and remember, bullying is also a repeated action over time. It's not just necessarily one instance. Okay. The next subtitle: peer acceptance and status. Is peer acceptance important?
Yeah.
It is. Whether you admit it or not, it is to you. That's just human nature. During early adolescence, the function and importance of the peer group can change dramatically. Adolescents seeking autonomy from their parents turn to their peers to discuss problems, feelings, fears, and doubts, thereby increasing the salience of time spent with friends, which makes sense. Would you guys agree with that? You turn early adolescence, you start talking to your friends about your problems. You're moving further away from your parents. Here's what it leads to. This reliance on peers for social support is coupled with increasing pressures to attain social status. It's during adolescence that peer groups become stratified, and issues of acceptance and popularity become increasingly important. And whenever we use the word stratified, what is the definition of that word? To divide into classes. Absolutely. Are there social classes in this high school?
Yeah.
Are there social classes in every high school?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there social classes in Lord of the Flies?
Yeah.
Okay, you have people who are more important, right, versus those being less important. And all of that is determined by social standing. Go.
Could you divide up the Lord of the Flies kids by the hunters and the job too?
Yeah, absolutely. You could even do it by the choir or the big ones or the little ones. Like, you're probably going to fit into more than one role or one group. Okay, so think about it even within high school. You might be like a jock, but you also might be a nerd. Okay, you also might be a band kid, and that's just part of life, is that people kind of start falling into cliques once they hit high school. There's nothing wrong with it, as long as you find your people. Research indicates, for example, that toughness and aggressiveness are important status considerations for boys, while appearance is a central determinant of social status among girls. Think about your life. Is that true?
Say that again.
Toughness and aggressiveness are important for boys, while appearance is important for girls. Definitely. Yes, 100%. That's absolutely true. Some researchers believe that the pressure to gain peer acceptance and status may be related to an increase in teasing and bullying. This behavior may be intended to demonstrate superiority over the other students for boys or girls, either through name-calling or ridiculing. So the different factors for bullying essentially are social acceptance, okay, popularity, and superiority. Those are the different things that on why people bully, okay? Setting the stage for bullying in middle school. Research with elementary school children in other countries supports the view that peer group members reinforce and maintain bullying. Well, this says other countries. So is it still applicable to us?
Yeah.
Yes, people are people. It doesn't matter where they're born, okay? These authors contend that bullying can best be understood from a social interactional perspective, meaning bullying behaviors are considered a result of a complex interaction between individual characteristics, such as impulsivity, in the social context, including the peer group and school social system. Participation of peers in the bullying process was clearly evident when Pepler and her colleagues videotaped aggressive and socially competent Canadian children in grades 1 through 6 on the playground. Okay, so grades 1 through 6, socially competent Canadian children. What does socially competent mean?
It's hard for them to understand.
Complete opposite.
They try to fit in.
Nope.
They're just normal.
They're normal kids. Okay, so we have to know what kind of kids we're watching before the results make sense, right? So socially competent, totally normal Canadian kids, that's what we're talking about here, grades 1 through 6. Now listen to this number. Peers were involved in bullying an astounding 85% of bullying episodes. 85% episodes. There was another kid sitting there going, yeah, this is really cool, I like watching this. Okay? Typically, like whenever we think about bullying, we think someone's being sought after and it's kind of happening outside of view. Not the case. 85% of bullying incidences are witnessed. Similarly, in a survey study of 6th graders in Finland, the majority of students participated in the bullying process in some capacity, and their various participant roles were significantly related to social status within their respective classrooms. Clearly, peers play an instrumental role in bullying and victimization on elementary school playgrounds and within classrooms. So this section right here, how does it contribute to the author's description of adolescence?
It gives you a age group.
Yeah. And if I'm going to bully, where is it going to be?
Somewhere that's teachers or parents.
Okay, where adults can't see, but who else is going to be with me? My peers are going to be with me, okay? I really need my peers there so that way I have a witness so I can get those cool points, right? That's what that whole section right there is talking about. 85% are witnessed by peers, meaning that's why they do it. You rely on peers for the bullying behavior. Transition in middle school and fitting in. We all know that that's an awkward stage. Less well understood are the peer dynamics associated with bullying during the transition from elementary school to middle school. Some researchers speculate that this transition can cause stress that might promote bullying behavior as students attempt to define their place in the new social structure. For example, changing from one school to another often leads to an increase in emotional and academic difficulties. Bullying may be another way that young people deal with the stress of a new environment. So this article is talking about the new environment of a new school and how stressful that is and how bullying might happen. What would be a more stressful environment than a new school?
New people.
Prison, yeah. Let's think about what we're doing in class.
You talking. Listening. Fitting in.
The book.
Reading.
I don't know, like if I had to choose whether I wanted to go to a new school or like being marooned on an island with an airplane full of small children, that might be a stressful situation, you know, like a survival situation. So everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, that's what we're talking about. So right, if you look at a new school or a kid in a new school, they might start bullying because they're uncomfortable, they're trying to find their way. Now imagine that exemplified by 10, right, times 10 on an island, right? You're going to see those things come out that normally you wouldn't because they're all stressed out. A short-term investigation of over 500 middle school students, grades 6 through 8, found an increase in bullying behavior among 6th graders over a 4-month period. So they studied these 6th graders. It took them 4 months to become socially aggressive, and it's going to tell you why. The author speculated that 6th graders were assimilating into the middle school, where bullying behavior was part of the school culture. This speculation is supported by the theory that bullying is learned behavior, and that as they enter middle school, 6th graders have not yet learned how to interact positively in the social milieu of the school. Many 6th graders who wish to fit in may adopt the behaviors, including teasing, of those students who have been in the school longer or who have more power to dictate the social norm. So why do they start bullying these 6th graders? To fit in. To show dominance, to fit in. Yeah, that's it, guys. 4 months it takes for these innocent elementary kids to become these bullies because they're watching the older kids do it. It is a learned behavior. It is not, it's middle school. It is not innate for someone to be a bully. Like, it's not born into you. You're not born a bully. It's a learned behavior. 2 recent studies further examine the hypothesis that middle school students opt to bully their peers to fit in. Pellegrini and colleagues found that bullying enhanced within group status and popularity among 138 5th graders making the transition through the first year of middle school. Similarly, Rodkin and colleagues in a study of 452 4th through 6th grade boys found 13% were rated as both aggressive and popular by their teachers. Furthermore, these aggressive popular boys and popular pro-social boys received an equivalent number of cool ratings from their peers. So a teacher can point that out. That kid is popular and he is aggressive. And the exact same thing that was said from their peers. Okay? These two studies do not examine how the influence of the peer group on bullying behaviors differs across sex, grade, or level of peer group status. A study by Esplanade and Holt of 422 middle school students, grades 6 through 8, using a survey that included demographic questions, self-report, peer report measures of bullying and victimization, and measures of other psychosocial variables, examined the association between popularity and bullying behavior. So they go through and they look at all of this data and all of these results to look at the similarities between how popular the kid is and how much of a bully they are. Despite the finding that bullies as a group enjoyed a strong friendship network, the relationship between bullying and popularity differed for males and females, and also grade levels. The most striking finding was the strong correlation between bullying and popularity among 6th grade males, which dropped considerably for 7th grade males and was not even associated for 8th grade males. So that's a good step in the right direction, right? 6th grade boys, if they were aggressive, they were really, really popular. 7th grade, not so much. 8th grade, by the time that they were 8th graders, if they were aggressive, it had nothing to do with their popularity, okay? So that's all good and normal transitioning. It's just those 6th grade boys you gotta watch out for, apparently.
Well, yeah, they bite my ankles. And I'm the same height as they are.
Closer examination of peer cliques in this sample found that students not only hung out with peers who bully at similar rates, but that students also reported an increase in bullying over a school year if their primary peer group bullied others, meaning bullies hang out with bullies, right? Would you say that holds true?
Yeah.
Yep. Your conclusion. We cannot assume that bullying among young adolescents is a simple interaction between a bully and a victim. That's not the case. Instead, recent studies and media reports suggest that there are groups of students who support their peers and sometimes participate in teasing and harassing other students. Is that what happens in Lord of the Flies? Who's your primary bully in Lord of the Flies?
Jack.
Jack. Does he have the support of his peers?
Yeah.
Do they also kind of like start teasing and going in on it?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So this article and all these studies are showing up in Lord of the Flies. It seems important for families, schools, and other community institutions to help children and young adolescents learn how to manage and potentially change the pressure to hurt their classmates in order to fit in. So right there, your author is giving you a call to action, meaning they're saying this needs to change, whether it's through school or whether it's through parenting, whatever it may be. This is an issue within our society and it needs to change. And it needs to change for everyone because obviously 85% of bullying incidents have a witness. Okay? Questions on your article?